Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Journey to Authentic Living video. My name is Sandra Rojo, and I'm a personal development coach and also founder of this YouTube channel and Journey to Authentic Living. Please do subscribe to our channel by clicking the red button. Okay, so today's episode is about comparisons, believe it or not, and I'm going to go ahead and pull up my notes, and I will be with you in just a sec. Okay, so I'm back. All right. So most people make a really big deal about comparisons. And yes, there is a negative side to comparing yourself and comparing other people. And I also acknowledge that the concept of judgment is associated to comparisons. And this is most likely the reason why so many people discourage others from using comparisons. But I have a different angle on this topic. And my goal in discussing it will hopefully discharge some of the negative emotions associated with comparisons, because I think that we've created an unwarranted neurosis in our society when it comes to this subject. We can also more or less agree that most of us have been brought up with the conditioning that comparisons are always bad, they're always negative, and they're poisonous to our thinking, and that if we dared compare ourselves, some ghastly curse will come over us, and then we'll just be spiraling down into hell or into our doom or something like that, right? And I think this is also due to the fact that comparisons have a tendency to marginalize something or someone. And I'll be giving you some examples of that, and also be giving you some tips on how to manage comparisons later on in this video. We also have volumes of narratives throughout history that demonstrate the darker side of comparisons, but I think we also need to be really careful of being hypocritical, because I actually think that we compare a lot more than we would like to admit. There is a very interesting book entitled Comparisons: The Theories, Approaches, and Uses. And the authors of this book actually say that the effect to comparing, say, ideas is to call into question the standards of comparing, precisely because we are conditioned to believe that something is always negative. And this negativity then is reinforced to the point that it spreads globally. Okay, and so it works something like this. So here I have two ideas, right? So if I have according to perhaps our myopic, narrow-minded way of perceiving things or of thinking things. Remember, we're sometimes programmed to think things, and we never question whether they're good or bad. We just know that that globally or in our culture, somebody says that's taboo or that's not good or you can't think that way, and so we just kind of adopt it without really questioning, right? So I'm going to stretch your mind a little bit on this one, but yeah, perception is reality. So I've got two ideas, right? And so according to the authors, according to our myopic way of perceiving, if I compare this idea to this one right here, then one of these ideas will inevitably be left out, abandoned, or frowned upon. Okay? We have a tendency to believe that if we choose this and then put this aside, that this is no good, it's not good enough. So in our conditioned or programmed mind, just because we put this to a side, in other words, we're not choosing this idea, it's like we have to make it even worse. We can't just say, well, this is what I prefer this idea over this. No, instead we have to almost make this situation or this idea or this situation or this person almost in a demeaning kind of way, if you will. Okay, so sorry about that. Something came up on my computer here. So the authors are suggesting that we need to compare things, though, instead of shunning the idea. We need to compare things in order to raise the bar, to raise the standards and the ethics of something that we are comparing. So I'm going to get off the philosophical discussion here for a moment, and I will try to demystify comparisons to more practical manners. So when we go to the grocery store and we buy fruit or vegetables, we compare avocados, we compare apples, right? Because we certainly don't want to be buying damaged goods. We don't want bruised or cut soft apples. We want them to be the way we want them in order to value them in some form or shape, right? And so that's a very specific example. So let's go on the outer. So now we're not looking at fruits and vegetables or provisions anymore. Now we're looking at the market, okay? So why am I shopping at this specific market versus the one across the street? Well, maybe it's because I like their prices. Maybe I'm comparing their customer service. Maybe I'm even comparing the location. Okay, and I might even be comparing the market's philosophy. Yes, it's true. We might even be shopping somewhere because we like their philosophy. You know, maybe I'm shopping at shop A or market A because they happen to have better wages for their employees. And well, that fits my philosophy, my way of thinking. So I decide to go there. Maybe somebody else might shop at market B because they know that every time they go in there, they're going to get some free goodie or something. Okay, so when we're making comparisons, we are looking, consciously or not, we're looking for a personal touch. We're looking for some form of personal experience. You know, whether we're spending money or whatever relationship we have, even if it's not about money. We want to have some experience. But when it comes to the mundane world, whether we're conscious of it or not, we're constantly comparing because we're looking for what makes us feel good, what gives us value, what gives us purpose in life. Yes, even going to a market, it doesn't even matter. Preferring this park over the ocean, whatever it might be, because we are looking for that connection. Okay? We also compare schools and colleges all the time. This is like another one here. And, you know, we're comparing the teachers as well. We have maybe in our past have liked Mr. Jones versus Miss Maple for history class, for example. And oh, by the way, we are actually comparing their skills and their delivery, which is something that is a no-no to the comparison police. Yet we conveniently, or maybe in a delusional state, believe we never compare. So here is what I consider a healthy approach to comparisons. First, I want to invite all of you to really relax a little bit when you find yourself comparing. Think about comparisons like a measuring system, you know, to our preferences, right? And comparisons also could be used as ways to evaluate what or who is better for us in a situation. As I was just telling you earlier, we kind of want that personal touch. So, you know, it's really important to keep aware of that. Comparisons are used as a measure for progress and for goals. So tip number one, stop running away from comparisons like a curse chasing you, okay? Stay with what you're feeling when you find yourself comparing yourself to someone else, whether it's their work performance, their talents, their physical appearance, their level of what seems to be confident, or anything else. Just stop. Two, when you allow yourself to stop running away, you can actually recognize what your internal self-talk is saying. So does it sound like you're wishing, or does it sound more like you're envious or you're jealous? Does it sound like you need to reach maybe a goal or a deadline and wondering how other people reach that and you haven't done it yet, or you have not reached or achieved what you need to? Okay, so it's all okay. That comparison is kind of like, I wouldn't say a red flag, but it's like that flashing yellow light saying, okay, get ready to stop, you know, be aware, look around, which means within yourself, and look and check to see what your internal reference is that you're holding inside yourself. Okay. Tip number 3, let's reframe the situation. So oftentimes other people's performance or progress motivates us and also can be very inspirational. And so we want to reframe to positive affirmations that support us rather than leaving us feeling ashamed or embarrassed that we actually compared. 4, to avoid getting into a negative rut, find qualities about yourself. Get that journal out and start thinking about what are some qualities or positive attributes or characteristics that you feel you actually have or that you've noticed about yourself. And sometimes I've actually had some clients of mine do this exercise where they have asked, trusted people that they know, friends and family. I'd go outside of family as well, but friends and colleagues and neighbors and people that you trust, and sort of jot down, I'm kind of doing this exercise. You can even say it that way. I'm doing this exercise and I'm just, wanting to know what you think some of my talents or my gifts or contributions are, or something like that. Many times you'll hear people just say, well, I think you're a compassionate person, or I think you're a talented person. But it's okay to even ask them, well, can you give me an example of that? Because compassionate is kind of ambiguous, and so is talented. Like, are you talented with mowing the lawn, or are you talented as in you have a really great voice and you just have this whatever. And so you want to go ahead and ask, can you give me an example of what you think that is? And this exercise isn't just to make you feel better, because I think that this is kind of inauthentic to say, well, I just want to feel better and I'm fetching for compliments. This is not a fetching for compliments. This is a good exercise to remind yourself. So many times in personal development and in psychology, when we are doing our inner work, we find ourselves, right, with looking at a lot of things that we don't like about ourselves, things that we never thought that were there that we didn't like about ourselves. And so sometimes it can be, a little bit painful to do that, and we can get in this negative rut. So I think it's important to be able to say, no, I want to know what my genuine qualities are, and ask for that example. So it's a very good exercise, and I recommend that for you as well. And so I hope that my angle to comparisons can help you. Please do remember that everything is perception. And what I mean by that is, as individuals, we see the world with a unique pair of glasses. And, at the end, nobody really can help you, can stop you, if you will, from comparing. But what you can do is you can reframe. Right? Use comparisons to your advantage, not the other way around. Don't let the comparisons dominate you so that you feel ashamed or embarrassed or even speak out loud, that kind of affirmation. Well, I never compare myself to anyone, or you shouldn't compare yourself to anyone. But yet, when nobody's looking, when nobody's reading our minds, we're doing that. We don't want to do that. That's hypocritical. So we want to own it. We want to just say, well, you know what? I am feeling X, Y, and Z to that. And use that comparison to our advantage, either to propel you to meet or achieve your goals or your deadlines or begin a project. So that is something that I want you to do. And another thing that I want to leave you with is, I think it's actually, I don't know if I want to use the word dangerous, but it's certainly not healthy we hear on social media, and we see all these little quotes that say that, or I hear often people say, well, you shouldn't compare, that same old cliche things that people say to each other, you shouldn't compare because you're unique. Well, again, it's going to happen. And I don't tell people anymore, don't compare yourself to others. Because I have a different angle on it. I rather help empower or help encourage someone to look at using comparisons to their advantage. It will be very difficult for us to get away from comparisons. I think as long as we're human beings and as long as we live on planet Earth, I think that we won't be able to avoid them. So, hey, you're welcome to your opinion. If you think that you can raise the consciousness to the point where nobody will compare themselves to anyone or whatever, well, good for you. But I have a little bit more of a different take on that. I rather accept things the way they are, be able to change my internal references and my subconscious programming and be able to say, no, I'm going to take that comparison and I'm going to use it to my advantage. And oh, by the way, I actually have done this. And it benefits me greatly. I don't feel like a victim of comparisons. When it happens, I look in and say, okay, well, something's going on. Maybe I was lazy for the last month. I didn't get what I needed to do to achieve or to finish that project. And I saw a colleague of mine do that, or a friend of mine, or whatever. Well, if I really look deep inside, it's kind of my fault. For whatever reason, or if I have a fear attached to why I didn't achieve it, well, then I need to work on that fear or that insecurity, right? But we are never victims of that. Let's take comparisons and just use them as a measure and evaluate, right? Because like I said, we're always doing it constantly, whether we like it or not. And when we choose this versus this and we discard that, when I even use the word discard, it doesn't mean that it's bad, evil, useless, meaningless, purposeless. Okay? It just is. It's just the way of life. And sometimes comparisons are unfair. That's just the way the world is. We can even dissect that. What is fair? What is not fair? If we really start digging deep in everything, it is about perception. What I think is unfair comparison, maybe that person thinks that it's not because they have a different way of viewing that situation, that person, that supermarket, that country, that whatever. Okay? And so in the meantime, I'm encouraging you all to reflect on this, and please do comment below in this video, and I look forward to your comments and any other suggestions. And I would love to hear your stories about comparison as well. And if you want me to elaborate, fine too. In the meantime, encouraging you all to live authentically, be well. Take care.